cloud around it, huh?
Yeah, it's not a cloud. It's literally, I'm going to blow it up bigger here and show you. Okay, great. I'm just going to share my screen with the picture, much bigger version. So if you can see it well enough now, it's literally making a funnel, or which is what a vortex is. It's a spiral shape of energy. And it's
Wow.
literally sending out a funnel of frequencies shaped in the form of a funnel, or whatever you would call that. But I don't know if you can see the detail that I see there. I mean, you could say, oh, well, that's just a cloud. I didn't see any clouds. It's only the camera that picked it up. And it's cameras can pick up frequencies that the human eye can't sometimes. Like
Yeah,
you'll
it's
see a
got
lot of
rainbow
orbs
colors.
and things like that. Yeah. So
It's
she's
like a
putting out a
rainbow color
vibration.
too, right?
Yeah, you can see that. You can literally see it looks like a slinky of energy, kind of
Yeah.
just spiraling like this to me. Unless am I being like wishful thinking or anything here, or is
No, it's
that something
awesome. It's
there?
really cool. And it was rainbow colors. What I was saying was, it looks like you see that the rainbow colors,
Yeah, it does
right?
look like a rainbow because the line extends like
Right.
it's maybe coming out of the earth and
That's
then
so
going out
beautiful.
into creating a frequency.
Dean, can you
Things that
tell me what kind of tree that is beside the rock?
I'm not sure. I haven't climbed up there yet, but my clients did 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And they said they showed me an easy way to get up there. So I'll get up there. I mean, there's a lot of manzanita there, and there's a lot of I forget the names of them. I should learn all that stuff.
You
But
know,
I'm gonna go ahead.
It really reminds me of the corona that you see around the moon occasionally, or the sun.
Yeah.
And it intrigues me that maybe it actually is full circle and we just can't see the rest of it.
You mean full circle like a rainbow?
Like that the part that we see continues on 360 degrees and goes down into the earth and comes up the other side. But it looks really interesting to me that if that were so, if it would complete in a circle, then theoretically that tree would be in the center.
That's probably a magical tree that it's just getting those vibes all the time. And I'm going to start taking my clients up there because I heard it wasn't that bad of a climb to get up there. And so I'm going to be doing my healing work and my readings in the vortex's most direct path. And what I notice is that whatever you say tends to manifest instantly when you're around this Kachina woman. For example, first time I went there and I did some grounding work totally into our bodies and get grounded because she's the Mother Earth energy, the Kachina woman. And it's like she's like, with these frequencies, she's amplifying the natural law of attraction of whatever you focus on or do. But we focused on getting grounded. And when I got home, I was staying at an Airbnb. So I was just basically a visitor. This was a couple of months ago. And then as soon as I got there, the lady went nuts, became like the gatekeeper for a reptilian portal in the earth there, apparently. And she just started like saying, you guys are really sick. You need to go get a COVID test. like, what are you talking about, lady? We don't have any symptoms. We're just having a good time over here. Um, and she became like a Nazi because we don't have any symptoms. I did have a nightmare where I screamed in the middle of the night, and she might have thought that was, me almost dying of some disease. But she could have just asked. I tried to tell her, oh no, that we're just, my friends are visiting, we're partying. They're, one of them's a chronic smoker, so she's got cough all the time. That doesn't mean, it's just normal. She's had that for years. And they're laughing so hard they're crying. That's all the drama. Anyway, it's but anyway, as soon as I got home that day, she's like, if you don't move out of here in 2 days, I'm calling the police, or you need to get a COVID test, or I'm kicking you out, and all this kind of stuff. And we're like, no, we're just partying a little too hard the last couple of days. We're having a great time. We just went up to this vortex and got grounded into it. I'm not telling her this now. I'm just thinking out loud. And we got so grounded that it literally expelled us from that house because we did not want to be there with this crazy person, this paranoid anymore. And and Christina, who's my roommate, said, she went to work and she said to the owner of the store, the psychic shop there, where she does her work, she said, oh, we have to move right away. And the lady that owned the store, and this is extremely rare, it's really hard to find a place to live in Sedona. It's so in demand right now. And she says, I literally just got a text half an hour ago about this 3-bedroom house. And it turned out to be just over the fence from the other place and down 2 houses. And so we just went over here in like a minute. And the guy said, yeah, it's for rent. And if you can come up with first, last, and a deposit by tomorrow in cash, it's yours. He didn't even like run a credit check or ask for anything because we're kind of way out there people. I've been put out of business, can't put on events. And now I'm just reinventing myself, going into these vortexes. But he just said, yeah, it's yours. Bring me the cash. And we did. And so literally within 24 hours of hanging out with Kachina woman in her energy and asking to be grounded, we literally became residents by accident without even trying. You know what I mean? And so it was pretty amazing. So now I live here, and I'm now going to be taking people right in front of her, right there. And whatever, I'm literally talking to people and, and one of them says, yeah, I'd like to move here, but I don't know if I could make a living. And then I said, well, Jessica, you're very talented. She's one of the ones that grounded me. So there's a lot of people needing to be grounded and that are kind of out of their bodies. People are like in a weird time in life right now. Some of them are out of their bodies and they're in post-traumatic stress disorder, major problems, big time. And maybe completely out of money, starving, who knows what's going on. Well, the people that are starving aren't coming to Sedona, but the rich people are. And so as I was saying this to Jessica, I was saying, you could make a living here. There's just enough people just walking down this path where you could meet people, because I'm very friendly and I just say hi to everybody. And you could just meet people and you'd have clients, just from walking on this trail. As I said that, a guy walked by. He turned around, he said, I couldn't help but overhearing you. I'm out of my body completely. I'm going through a divorce from my childhood sweetheart. It's been 30 years. We've raised a family. I need to move on. And then he's very successful, multimillionaire with his own communications tech company, telecommunications. And I said, clients, I said, oh, well, you should talk to Jessica. She's like really helped me ground myself just now. And she could probably help you too. She's clairvoyant and a yoga teacher. And then they're like, oh, which place do you go to yoga? She says, the yoga studio near me. And then he goes, oh, that's where I go too. Oh yeah, yeah, we're going to see each other every day. So he's her client now, and it took 5 seconds of the words coming out of my mouth, and it just instantly manifested. So this is Kachina woman. This is what I'm really excited about. That's why we're not talking about astrology yet. It's because it's like she is helping manifest. Like you can just make a wish right there, and it's just she just creates this vibration apparently where the wish comes true. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's my theory. I'm not sure. I could just be crazy, but it seems that things are. I manifested a 3-bedroom house, manifested an incredible job where I just hike with people into amazing vortexes and do readings and healings with them, and they manifest a new life for themselves or whatever. And it's a pretty cool job. And so I think she's really, I think she helps you give birth to whatever, because she's like the mother goddess. And I think she helps you create a matrix. The word matrix means mother. And she helps you create with her vibration, she creates a matrix for it to manifest. That's my theory. She's a Kachina. Do you guys know what a Kachina is? What about you, Christine? Do you know what a Kachina is?
I've heard that name, the Kachina dolls, and
Yeah.
it's used like in the natives use it a lot, but I don't know exactly what it means.
It's this is Kachina woman, and basically the idea is that all of the universe is the expression of spirit. The whole thing, everything, including this computer that I'm looking at and my cell phone next to me, are all, and rocks and trees, like the tree you were talking about a minute ago, that's right there. They're imbued with spirit. Everything is the expression of spirit. So what a Kachina means is, a Kachina means the spirit of that rock right there is Kachina woman is her name. And these Kachinas are, spirits, and they are like, they have families, they have relationships. I'm calling this one my girlfriend now because every time I go there, we give birth to something. So
Nice.
anyway, but I think that, so the tree itself might have a Kachina, the one you were looking at, and the trail might have a Kachina, and every tree might, every rock might. And so it's just the spirits of nature, like nature spirits, or like a Mother Earth goddess or something like that. So anyway, enough of that. You guys want to know some astrology, maybe? What's going on? So, okay. Let's look at the astrology chart. Somewhere, here it is. What was that noise? I'm going to share my screen. So, Sig, do you know anything about astrology?
Precious little.
Okay, that's good. Most of the things people know about astrology are very old, like medieval, paranoid fantasies that aren't particularly real. Like, I'm a Gemini, so I'm supposed to be intellectual or something, or maybe two-faced, possibly schizophrenic. You know what I mean? To me, that's a bunch of baloney. And what sign are you, Sig? I can't hear.
I was born on the 21st of January, so some things say I'm Aquarius and some say I'm a Capricorn. I have a Capricorn rising and a Libra moon.
Okay.
So I'm
Well,
not 100% sure where I'm at right now because
well, you're what, a hybrid creature, part, you're like a thunder goat or something, part
that's
water
right.
bear,
Sea goat. Yes. Yeah.
a goat, but that's spewing electrical.
Oh yeah, from the
Oh,
Aquarius. Yeah.
yeah, like it's
Yeah.
a water bear, which means it's a storm. You know what I mean? It's spewing out whatever, thunderbolts and stuff. But it's in the shape of a goat, perhaps. So anyway, so let's look at this chart. You guys can see it?
Yes, we
Yep.
can see it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, um, so I like to talk about what's going on in relation to the chart as a way to understand it. And my battery is about to go, so I better plug in my computer. Okay.
Is there a way to enlarge the picture at all? I have a little bit of problem seeing it clearly.
Okay. Well, let's see. I don't know if that's any bigger. That's the biggest I can make it. But okay. So first of all, so let's look at what has been going on in the world or what's been going on in our lives. Like for me, for example, that picture was the most dramatic thing about this week for me because I keep watching videos of people or reading articles of people that come here and go, it for sure is a really beautiful place, but I don't really buy that there's any vortexes there. That you hear a lot of people because they've never had an experience. And so what I love about that picture is I can show people a vortex and go, this was just taken with somebody's smartphone. And you can see the energy is in the shape of a vortex. So I like that picture. And so what I'm saying about it now, I'm going, well, what in the astrology chart is like that? So I want to show you this blue line right here that goes from Mars in Gemini. By the way, remember I'm a Gemini. My Gemini is 12 degrees Gemini. Okay, well, this Mars is going to arrive at 12 degrees Gemini today. You know what I mean? It's at 11 and 39, and it's moving about a half a degree a day. So it's going to go over my sun tomorrow. So this is a transit. This is how we do transits. Now, Mars is energy. Mars is passion or energy. It's like hormones. Mars is like male energy, mostly testosterone energy, but it's basically the vital force is what it is. Chi. It's, if you're a woman, it's your ovaries, and it's where your vital force and passion and lust for life and all that energy is created. Vital force, the life force. Like if you're making babies, you're using that energy or whatever you're doing. So anyway, Mars is going over my sun. My sun, the sun is my eyes. I'm going to change my background so you can see what I'm talking about. Well, anyway, sun is light, so that means seeing, and it's my third eye. And so this is the diagram next to me, and I'm going to stop sharing for a second just to illustrate what's going on. So how does a transit work? So Mars is going over my sun, which means it's going in front of my face. I'm seeing it. And what am I seeing? I'm seeing vital force. I'm seeing the life force or the energy. And it's funny, I was even using a metaphor of giving birth. to things, and Mars would be the male part of that equation. And so what I'm seeing with Mars going over my sun is how we energetically give birth to things. And I'm literally seeing the funnel of energy coming out of Kachina woman. Is this making any sense to you guys? This is a great way to learn astrology because you can go, well, what's happening in my chart and how did it show up? And I literally didn't think of that before this moment that I'm talking to you guys. But I realized, oh, I was seeing the energy. And in a way, I was seeing the life force that was coming out of it. Now I understand what the energy is. It's life force. It's actually the giving birth of something. And so it's coming out as a vortex. And now I'm going to go back to the chart again. But that's what that part of astrology is Mars transiting my sun. When Mars transits your sun, right now it's going through Gemini. So I'm seeing the energy. And I'm showing it to you guys also in that picture. And so it's a visual expression of energy. So now there's a trine here to Saturn. A trine means it's a triangle. It's forming a 120-degree angle, and it creates a window. So something opens up easily. It just comes in the window or the door. Okay. And what is coming in, so trine is considered lucky or gifted or talented or easy. So everybody loves trines. So what is that? Going to Saturn. So we're seeing the, this is going to be fun. So we're seeing the energy easily as a Saturn thing. A Saturn thing, this is going to blow your mind, is, think about what Saturn looks like. It's got rings. So I'm going to show a picture of Saturn if I can. There's a really pretty one. Well, I got that one. Which one do you like better, that one or that one? Or that one?
You're making it difficult. They're all nice. I like that one.
This one shows what I'm getting at better. So remember, I was seeing the energy, and then although we couldn't see it without the picture being taken with the camera or the phone. And then there's a trine, so it's like an open window, or we can easily see it. It wasn't hard to see because we took a picture. And what did it look like? It looked like Saturn, didn't it? It's like spirals of energy, like circles of energy going around. A funnel is kind of what Saturn looks like. And Saturn means to guide or direct energy, like a container, like a bottle, or you know, a bowl or some kind of a container that holds it. And so we're actually seeing the structure of the energy in that photograph. So anyway, that's that part of the chart. Does anybody have any other examples? It wouldn't necessarily be the same for you because it wouldn't necessarily be going over your sun. But anyway, it's what I say about this aspect of Mars trine Saturn that's peaking right now is it allows us to see or experience the structure of energy. You know what I mean? Like it could be another structure of energy is like our chakras. If you caught a glimpse of your chakras, or you could see your aura, or you could see your energy body, or something like that, it's being able, but not necessarily see it, because for me it's seeing it because it's my third eye, it's my sun, but it might be being able to feel it, the structure of energy. And so anyway, I'm just wondering if anybody else noticed anything about that. being able to experience the structure of energy or the directing of energy. It's okay if nobody does. I wanted to hear if anybody did. So that's, usually I talk about easier aspects to understand, like the conjunction of Mars going over the sun was probably easier to understand because it was just because I just showed you a picture of energy. So it's literally seeing energy. And but let's look at some of this other one. Like, okay, what's this brown line here coming out of Mars? It's going to Mercury. That's Mercury square Mars. Okay, so Mercury, and I'm going to change the diagram behind me back to the planets are the chakras in the exact same order in the body. So that helps us to understand what we're looking at. So Mercury, and I'm going to make this picture bigger again, is weird throat chakra, words or vibrations coming out of your mouth. And if you remember in that picture, that funnel was literally coming out of Kachina woman's mouth. And so this means throat chakra and a square. Well, first of all, it's squaring Mars. So it's like a throat chakra manifesting energy is what in astrology Mercury square Mars means, is making or producing energy with your vocal cords, like chanting or singing or talking. It's literally manifesting things that through energy, through, like if you say, like I say, what I did when we manifested this 3-bedroom house, I asked the angels, I said, Archangel Michael, etc., would you please help us upgrade our living situation? And that was part of the equation. Christina did the same thing. And so it included the trip to see Kachina woman to get the grounding energy, and then the solution of a house to replace the other one was just by simply asking the angels to help us. I didn't mention that before, but that was a critical part of then getting the text. Here's the house, go look at it. And boom, like that, within 24 hours, all that happened. And we literally moved and didn't even know we were going to move. We had already paid the rent on the other place. She gave it back to us, which was nice. Because say, if you're kicking us out because we didn't get the test, give us our money and we'll go gladly. And then I talked to a psychic in India who said literally that she was the gatekeeper of a reptilian portal. That the reptilians, aliens live under the ground in this neighborhood apparently, and that's where they come in and out. Doesn't surprise me. I felt a really negative energy there. But anyway, so the Mercury square Mars, I know I'm digressing a lot here, but it literally means there's Mercury, 90 degrees is the brown line, Mars. So it's literally, well, first of all, 90-degree angles are a fourth of the circle. The number 4, if you took 4 points, it makes a solid. It's called a tetrahedron. So is this too mathematical for you guys? No? Okay.
I'm good.
Some people, their eyes glaze over. So everything's There,
I'm just trying to relate it to the chart, like everything that you're saying with Mars.
yeah, this is gonna tie it together.
Okay,
Because
okay.
you see this number 4 here?
Uh-huh.
Like the Earth is the 4th celestial body. Sun is 1, Mercury 2, 3 is Venus, and Earth is 4. And Earth means a physical, us having a physical body on a planet. You know what I mean? This is where our physical dimension is. And so if you see 4 points, you see it makes a tetrahedron. That's a solid. That's like 3 points makes a window, but 4 points makes a solid. So what we're looking at here is the throat chakra, which is vibration. The number 2, like the yin yang thing, is a vibration, is manifesting because it's square, it's 4, and Mars is passion or energy or vital force. So that's what I'm getting at. In other words, I'm going to go back to the chart. Okay, so Mercury square Mars means through sound and vibration and words to manifest, to bring into the physical dimension Mars, which is energy. So, for example, making a picture of the funnel or the vortex that we saw, we didn't even see it. We just took a picture of Kachina woman and there it was. The camera picked it up. So we manifested a picture of energy that we could use to communicate and show other people what a vortex looks like and where one is. We now know the exact location of the vortex. That tree that you're talking about. It's like, I'm gonna go do my readings under that tree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of manifestation, so that leads to a very old story. When I was, but this is manifesting with words. This is blowing my mind, and if you kind of can catch the drift of it, when I was 20, I had a different job than I have now, and I'm showing you now that job. So I was king of the trolls at Magic Mountain. That's my little sister with me. And you guys ever been to Magic Mountain?
I've never been there.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's what I looked like. That's what I did. And I would be dancing in parades twice a day wearing that ridiculously hot costume. It's like carrying a sauna around on your back. And you're supposed to dance in a parade and be, running around and, in 120 degrees inside that thing, at least some days. So anyway, why am I talking about this? Because I happened to pass by when I was in that parade one day. I happened to pass by a little pond, and next to the pond was a tree. So I'm bringing it back to the tree, and there was a grassy area in front of it. And I said, I'm tired of being king of the trolls. It's too much. It's heavy. It's a heavy weight to carry that crown on your head and have to dance in parades all the time. And so I would like, and then I saw an image of myself. And I was sitting under the tree and I was like, I called it, I'm creating a new character. I'm going to call it the truth teller. And he's going to be sitting under that tree and he's going to be able to tell people the truth. And I had kind of a costume like with a beard and like this kind of like wizard kind of costume, yeah, he's the truth teller. So that's my new character. I'm creating that. And literally within a year of that, I started studying astrology, and I started doing events like Harmony Festival in Santa Rosa, where I would have a booth under a tree every year and do readings, do astrology readings under trees. And I'm many times I've ended up doing astrology reading under trees, which now, thanks to Sig pointing out that tree to me, I'm like going, that's where I'm doing my readings from now on. Under that tree where we're getting all that vibration directly at us, and that tree who has that all the time, it's going to be so grounding and so rooting. But anyway, I actually remember when I created this with words, it's the same principle, is I said it to myself in that troll costume that I have behind me. Literally, I was inside that thing when I said the words that I will be doing my readings under a tree. Well, I didn't even know I was going to do readings. I just knew I was going to be the truth teller, was the name I gave the character. But it's the exact character that I've done many times in events and will now be doing in that vortex that you just saw. So anyway, just to bring it full circle, and I hope you understand this is Mercury square Mars. It's literally the voice, the words, or the vibrations coming out of your mouth, which is so funny. I don't think you can see what I'm seeing right now. So I'm gonna bring it back to the Mercury square Mars it's coming out of her throat chakra, and it's manifesting energy, which is Mars, vital force. So this is the Mercury square Mars part of it. And it's the same thing that I did inside the troll costume behind me. I said words. So all of us are like this Kachina woman. Every word we say is creating a vortex of energy that becomes our world. That's how the law of attraction works. And the astrology of now is a particularly good time to do that sort of thing. Anyway, I don't know if this is making any sense, but
is Mars also like you could say words, but they could be, depending on where you're at. Obviously you're at a vortex, so the communication was, spiritual and loving and healing. But can it also be like aggressive also? Mars is,
yeah,
isn't that
yeah,
Mars a warrior, energy and all that?
absolutely.
Right?
You are so smart, Christine. Blows my mind sometimes. You come up with some really good stuff. So Mars traditionally is the god of war. But what it is, if you look at the symbol, now you see the symbol right there. It's the male symbol. It's a phallic symbol. Mars is basically testosterone. But if you're a woman, it's estrogen and progesterone. And I don't know much about what that's like, but we each, that's the main difference between males and females. And either way, it's your Mars energy. It's your passion, it's your hormones, the part of you. I understand that Mars to a woman is not so much like testosterone. It's more like I want to have a family. I want to make some babies and have a family. Whatever that instinct is, you guys can tell me what it feels like more. For a guy, it's just, I need to get laid. Like every day. That's what Mars energy is like, and that's what men are like. But they can channel that energy into being athletes or soldiers, or going off to war and killing people. It can be very aggressive energy, and it can be a fight. When it's Mercury, it can be a verbal fight, where or could just be manifesting something verbally using affirmations and the law of attraction. So you could do it real consciously, like with Kachina woman, knowing that it's going to manifest really easily. It's like going to see the genie and making a wish and it's going to come true. So that's Mercury square Mars. Mars would be the wish or the desire, what you want to manifest. And then you say, you know, fabulously wealthy. I'd like to be a billionaire. Literally, my ex-girlfriend, I think I told you the story, Christine. She said, I said, what would you like to manifest? And we were using the sacred geometry, putting crystals of different dimensions on planets on her chart. And her name's Sharon. She said, I'd like to be a billionaire. I'm like, oh my God, please, come on. How about millionaire? No, I'd like to be a billionaire. Okay. And argue, when you're a genie, you have to grant the wish. So we put the crystals on her chart, and then we had an open relationship. So she was up on some dating site called OkCupid. And within a half an hour of making that wish, she got a date with a billionaire. And they liked each other. And that was like 4.5 years ago. And she's probably been all around the world a few times. I mean, I keep seeing on Facebook greetings from Iceland or London or some other part of the world, because she's living like a billionaire at least. You know what I mean? I don't think she has control of $1 billion herself, but she did manifest that relationship. And that only took a half an hour. So this is what it is. So the Mars could be manifesting a man, hence a Mars person, or it could be a fight somebody's having where they're arguing with the Mercury talking passionately, or persuasion, somebody's trying to convince somebody of something. I mean, I feel very passionate right now. I'm really excited about Kachina woman, my new girlfriend, and all the babies we're having.
You did want a new girlfriend. There you go. You've been talking about getting one when you moved to Sedona.
I got the best girlfriend in the planet, I think. At least she makes great babies really fast. Let's put it that way. I didn't think I was going to be having any more children.
I'm like,
anyway.
I'm always excited every week to listen to your stories because they just keep getting better and better. You know, it's like yeah, Sedona is like amazing.
I found my soulmate. Anyway, I didn't know that King of the Trolls would even ever find an appropriate soulmate. Oh, anyway, there's a whole story there. We actually all got banished by Magic Mountain because we were trying to figure out which one of us was the father of the baby troll, and there was the king, and then there was Bloop, this other male troll. And we just we have to clarify this. And so we had a wedding, we planned a wedding, and to Bloop, the other male troll, to the mama troll. And I don't know if this is making any sense, but we ended up losing our jobs for having a troll wedding at the Magic Mountain without permission. Anyway, the story's more complicated than that, but it's going to take too long. So anyhow, any comments? I'm curious, Christine, did you experience a lot of this Mars, more aggressive energy in some way?
No, I didn't experience it. I was just last week, remember we were talking about things being visual and photography and all that. Well, the weather's been amazing in San Diego, so I've been out shooting and taking pictures, and
Oh, great.
talking to people and connecting, and just a really great week. And it's been, yeah, it's been about communication. It's been about, um, coming together and organizing things and socializing. And, it's been really, really great. But it was great because we talked about, the energy from last week, and putting the thought out there, right? And just kind of moving towards that. And then having the opportunity. So it was, yeah. So no harsh words, nothing like that. I think it's your intention. I think it's with your intention of how you want to verbalize who do I want to hang out with. So I'm pretty careful about who I hang out with and who I spend time with.
So
But yeah, the visual thing with photography, you were saying in dreams, I did that, and been really interested in dreams. That I study dreams, and um,
yeah, and that was the sun here when it lined up with Neptune,
yeah.
and it's so that's began that whole cycle. That was a great way to begin the cycle. Like we said, it would have been a good time to make a vision board, but doing photography is kind of like creating a vision board. Like
Hmm.
the pictures I take in my camera, they end up on my computer, and then when I'm not doing anything in my computer, it just shows a slideshow of all my pictures. So it becomes like a vision board. So I've been editing it out, getting rid of the pictures that I really don't want to make part of my vision board. But so I'm
Well,
adding this picture of
yeah.
the China woman with her vortex coming out of her, and that's really a great thing.
and what came to mind as we're talking, 'cause, I'm intuitive and all that. Um, as you're thinking about the words you're putting out there and the energy on the, that Piscean energy that's kind of hidden, and or Neptune, you can't see it. What I'm thinking about is the vortex that you couldn't really see it, but it was there. And so that's really cool. I think that ties
Good
in with
point.
what we were talking about last week, right?
Yes,
So
and the fact that we took a photograph of it is exact
yeah.
because the sun conjunct Neptune is like take a photograph so you can see what's
Uh-huh.
under the surface, like the
Exactly.
ocean. And that's a really good point. I think you're ready to be an astrologer, Christine. You're really good at picking this stuff up now. I think
Yeah.
you've learned a lot just because we're talking about all this stuff every week. That's exactly how I learned astrology. Is I looked at what was going on in the stars that week, and then just if you're a little intuitive, it kind of like all comes together. Just like all the stuff that I'm talking about today, I didn't think of any of it before. It was all just what I'm thinking about as I'm looking at the chart and talking to you guys and looking at the picture of what we saw. And then it just kind of rolls out intuitively. And I see, Christine, that you're getting very good at that.
Oh,
So,
wow. Yeah. I like that. I like connecting everything. So yeah.
so just so you know, as the sun has moved on from Neptune, that cycle is now, you know, almost 2 weeks in, but now the sun is getting ready to line up with the Chiron here
Okay.
about 5 days from now. So the energy is going to shift to Chiron kind of energy,
Okay.
which is healing energy. It's like the Neptune was more the clairvoyant energy or seeing the uh, hidden side of things. But now it's like seeing the wounds or seeing the pain or seeing, okay, so it's already starting because what's been going on the last few days, if you watch the news, like probably couldn't murdered in Atlanta in 3 spas, and mostly Asian American women. And then just yesterday, where I used to live, Boulder, Colorado, where I used to go shopping for groceries, King Supers, 10 people shot in the grocery store yesterday. So this now what we're going to see as the sun and Venus line up with Chiron is we're going to see a lot of pain now. We're going to see people suffering like, okay, so it's kind of like uh, a lot of images, because it's the sun, a lot of images of people in pain. So you see all these people crying, at the grocery store. Somebody even took a video of it as it was unfolding. I did not watch that. And I don't know if I'm going to watch that, but I know that it exists. And so, and then Chiron is lined up with Ceres, which we've been talking about a lot, which is the healing with the Mother Earth energy, or healing of the mother-child relationship, or ancestral healing, which Michelle has been really making a lot of that. And it's actually time for Michelle to appear on our screens here. So I'm going to stop sharing this chart, but just know that the ancestral healing, we're going to be seeing a lot of it. We're going to be seeing a lot of pain. We're going to see a lot of things that need to be healed or need to be fixed. They're going to be talking about how do they fix the problem of people being able to buy guns. That's what the Congress is talking about. That's what the president is talking about. They're all talking about how to fix the legal problem. And then you're going to look at, but you're seeing mainly the people are talking about how are we going to fix the Asian American prejudice problem that's going on. And there's actually a boycott of one of the Asian American senators. She said, I'm not going to confirm any more nominees until I start seeing some Asian Americans being nominated, some more than what we have. They want one in the cabinet. So anyway, you see the politics of it. It's like the pain of being, subjected to prejudice, pain of being murdered, the pain of having a family member murdered. You're going to see a lot of images like that.
Yeah.
So that's Chiron. And then the worst part is when it's building up, which will be like the next 5 days. And then after the alignment, then you start the new cycle. That's the more positive side of that. But this is the letting go of old pain part of the cycle, because it's the end of the cycle. And then it's the beginning, planting the seeds of the healing of it. Anyway, Michelle.
Hi, guys. Hi, Dean. I am here with my friend, Tisa, who I want to introduce you to. I love her, and I think you will too, especially when you find out what she gets up to in the world.
What's your name?
Hi, Dean. We've done a reading. Tisa.
I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah.
How do you spell that? T-I-S-A?
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you in person.
Again.
Again. And hi, everyone.
What are you up to these days, Tisa?
No good. I'm hanging out with Michelle, obviously.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We're actually thinking about doing a show together.
Oh, awesome. What kind of a show?
I'm going to decode Michelle. It's how to apply woo-woo.
Oh, applied woo-woo. That's awesome.
A little bit of that in health and wellness. I've been dabbling in health and wellness for like 20 to 30 years now. So I'm doing some interesting projects right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get back to what you were talking about, Dean, because I find that interesting where you said that we're coming into seeing people's pain. Is that what you said? And that's because of, is it Chiron? The position of Chiron?
Yeah, let me share the screen with you again. This is Chiron right here. You see my cursor?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a K. And I'm sure you remember Ceres right here is lined up with Chiron. They're beginning their new cycle. That's why we were talking about ancestral healing, or healing Mother Earth, or healing the ancestral roots of our problems, whatever they are. And So Chiron and Ceres have started their new cycle, and here comes the Sun and Venus moving faster, ending their cycle with them, which means the end of this healing cycle that began about a year ago. That was when like all the lockdown started and everybody was dealing with, COVID worries. And so that has been that year of wounding and healing. Chiron is the wounded healer. So we're now in the last 5 days of that cycle. And then we begin the new cycle, whatever, like if it was today, what I'm saying, the last few days, what you see is a lot of people being murdered. If you watch television,
Oh my God.
mass shootings. And
Yeah.
so that's this new pain. So this year's issue might be more murders, you know what I mean? As opposed to something to be afraid of. So it's like the new thing, well, it's been something to be afraid of for a long time, all these different
Is it
forms.
strong? Is it strong because the cycle is ending? Is that what you're saying? So towards the end, right in the end, it gets really intense and then it starts to mellow out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's the death of that cycle.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so we're in the death, for example, let's say the lockdown. I'll just call it the lockdown because for me, what wounded me was being put out of business, being like, I'm not allowed to put on events anymore. So the lockdown was the wound to me personally. And so we're now at the end of this lockdown cycle, actually. And you could call it the COVID cycle, or depending on what your your political persuasion is. Some people say the China virus problem or something, And for me, it was a lockdown issue. I couldn't put on events anymore. So I was put out of business. So now we begin a new cycle. And I want to show you another image I shared with everybody else earlier, but like the new cycle for me is I'm starting to put on events in, and I'm putting most of them on with Kachina Woman, my new girlfriend. and and one of my clients, we did a healing, just to the left of her down here under a tree. And she took a picture with her smartphone. And this is the picture. And the great thing about the picture is you can see the spiral of energy coming out of her throat chakra. You can literally see the vortex. And so what I'm seeing is that, and Sig pointed out this tree right here, or this group of trees, and it's like, wow, what kind of tree is that? And it's getting a lot of that energy. And so, and then this last group of women that I took here to do readings with, they climbed up to that spot. I had never figured out how to get up there. And they said, oh, it's actually pretty easy. So I am literally just like a year of not being able to put on events. I have now found my new place to put on events. This little group of trees right here, where we're going to, like right in the vortex funnel. I feel like we found the actual center of the Sedona vortex, and it's right there.
Wow. That's cool.
We have a picture to prove it. And so my new cycle of how I do healings with people is I take them to this little grove of trees and we hang out there and do healing work and stuff like that. And so that's my beginning of mine. This is the picture, because remember, it's the sun looking at, oh, this is how the healing happens here. You know what I mean? It's like a picture of the healing. Well, right now, if you watch television, you're getting a picture of all these people being shot and murdered and things like that. So that's one version of reality. But here's another one. So that's what I suggest for people. It's like you're talking about your coding thing, Lisa, and it's like that's another picture of a healing process. And you said literally, astrologically, the funny thing is, you said, one of you said you're going to do a show. And that's also a sun word. It's like where you can see something, you show it.
Mhm.
And you're showing the Chiron thing happening, whatever that is, which I don't know yet. But it's a coding. So it sounds like, oh, you're going to reprogram or something.
Cool.
And that's what Chiron means. It means evolving. Chiron is the wounded healer, but the way evolution traditionally happens is a mutation, a wound, a toxin, or radiation, or these vortex vibrations, or the words you say. It's you're putting out a frequency, but some of the frequencies are wounding you, let's say toxin, and that is changing your DNA. And that's how supposedly evolution has happened all history, is that we're always getting wounded by things, we're always getting damaged by things, and that some of those damages or wounds are an improvement, and that's supposedly how evolution happens, the way I understand it. And so but we're developing with the sun lined up with Chiron, being able to do the evolutionary process consciously, being able to see what you're doing is what that means. And so this week, the next 5 days is the end of the cycle, and then begins the new cycle. So that's kind of, I mean, I think you are going to do some show here of this might be of what it is. You know what I'm saying?
So just to clarify, at the end of this cycle of Chiron, things get more intensified and more gnarly or difficult, and then it goes into the
death. It's the death of the old cycle. So if I call this cycle lockdown, if I call that my wound, then it's I see that it's the end of the lockdown happening.
Yeah.
It's like it coincides with the first day of Disneyland opening. Once you open Disneyland, if people can go to Disneyland, they should be able to go to my expo.
Yeah. Absolutely, Dean.
That's true. That's true.
I am no longer listening to the rules. I'm going to create my own events. And I go, this is no more of a problem than Disneyland.
Is that astrologically supported to no longer be listening to the rules too? Is that just the deep version of what's going on astrologically, or is that actually happening?
Yeah, let's look at that. That's probably
question.
It's important because you did talk about, Dean. I mean, you talked about, I think it was last week, you talked about the position of Saturn and how that was putting beliefs into law. And that was going to go on for like a year, which is important. That's like big stuff.
It is going on for a year because Saturn is square Uranus, which means to manifest rules or boundaries for your freedom. So now, we have freedom of assembly that we're talking about for me. We're talking for all the people on social media like Robert F. Kennedy who are saying things like that question the COVID or the vaccine. They're getting censored. So that's freedom of speech. Yeah. And then you've got freedom of belief or freedom of choosing your own method of healthcare, which is similar to freedom of religion. They're kind of tied together. Yeah. In case you're a Christian Scientist, for example, and then, or something similar. And then now, with all these people, all these mass shootings in the last few days, freedom, okay, so now they're talking about whether they're going to pass a law banning assault weapons. So that's the other issue, and then the argument about freedom versus blah, blah, blah. So it's all these freedoms, First Amendment, Second Amendment, etc. So that is up, but then this Mars trine the Saturn is, in one sense, we said it was being able to see the structure of the energy, that vortex. We could see it, how it had those rings like Saturn, around it. So that's one manifestation of that Mars trine Saturn. It's like an easy aspect, but it's also like, even though they're restricting the freedom here technically, because I looked up the law, it hadn't changed for expos or festivals yet. I looked it up this morning. I keep figuring out when are they going to let me put on events, because I need to start planning. And then we'll see this Mars trine Saturn is like, and I'm a Gemini, 12 degrees Gemini. This Mars is like 11 degrees Gemini. So that part of me first being able to see the energy in the picture, because it's the sun, my sun, and Mars, which is energy. But it's also Mars trine Saturn is going, screw it.
Is that your official explanation of that configuration?
What?
The screw it line going on in there?
That's the screw it line.
The blue line is the screw it line.
Is
So
it
it's
really?
like,
Seriously, because I've been kind of feeling a little bit like that.
I know,
I don't
me
know about you.
too.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are in that emotion.
yeah, that Mars trine Saturn, because Mars literally, I mean, when you say the word screw it, it's not a random word to use here, because Mars is a phallic symbol, and it's literally testosterone
Wow.
energy. And it's like, or estrogen or progesterone, whatever hormones are created in your ovaries or whatever, testicles or whatever makes, that's Mars energy, is where hormones and where the vital force is created. So people, when it's trying the Saturn, that's the solution. The Saturn's trying the Uranus, making a kind of a forbidden taboo thing, you know, about everything. And, you know, these are the limits on your freedom. You know what I mean? And then the Mars trining it going, screw it. You know, like, I can do whatever I want. You know what I mean?
So interesting.
That is.
It's very interesting, because I've been feeling the way and this might be there astrologically, but just energetically, I've been feeling like there seems to be, we've gone through those birth canals and the darkness, and I feel like we are in a battle between the light and the dark, and we've illuminated a lot of the darkness has been, you know, paid attention to and had its way to a certain degree. But I've been feeling like there's more light opportunity coming in, more an energy of opening or an energy of expanding into freedoms.
But that felt like it was coming from that I'm mad about it, not having my freedoms, which is where a lot of the stuff that we've talked about is coming into play too.
Yeah. So is the light coming in the chart, or is that kind of aligned with that screw it kind of energy?
Well, there's a lot of things going on at the same time. I'll share again.
Okay.
So
just want to dig a little deeper around what's actually going on.
Okay, so if you want to get a little deeper, so the problems are the Saturn square Uranus. That's kind of like freedom being limited and creating this solid wall of you can't do this, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's going on all year, but we're in a different phase of it. Now, also the Mercury square Mars is like, we got to create what we want. Mercury is with words. We're like declaring, like making a wish. You say what you want and it manifests. That's what Mercury square Mars means. Okay, and so that's what I realized in the picture of Kachina woman is you're in this vibratory frequency that's just sucking everything into manifestation. And you just say what you want, you make a wish, and then it comes true. And then there've been lots of examples that I've said before about how I manifested a house in Sedona, or you know, a dream job, taking people into the vortex and doing readings and healings, and you know, it's like, God, I don't even know if I want to put on events in hotels anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but it's like asking for what you want and then making it manifest. So those are the two issues. But there's all these things, these trines helping, like the Mars trine Saturn, which is whatever, I can really do what I want. I'm taking my cue from Disneyland, you know, because it's the same. I mean, I started my career as king of the trolls at Magic Mountain. And so I can, if Disneyland can do it, I can.
Screw it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can too, because there I am. That's me. That's literally my costume, and I'm still king of the trolls, and I can literally do whatever I want.
Nice.
So do you think that that's like a group energy though? So a lot of people are catching that vibe and catching that potential and that possibility of like, I'm not limited by your rules or your laws. I can do whatever I want. Is that really kind of supported right now?
It's the Mars trine Saturn. It's like if you say what you want, you can manifest it.
Oh,
That's the light coming
got a
in.
lot of talking to do.
And it gets you through, it finds a pathway through the set of rules and laws. And to, like I said, for me, it's Disneyland. It's just we create our own reality. So if Disneyland is open, I'm open.
Right.
Because I'm really the same energy as Disneyland. I'm like an event with a bunch of people doing fun things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And so they can't say Disneyland can open and I can't. That's ridiculous.
But then you did say you weren't really sure if that's what you wanted to do, because you might want to go sit by your girlfriend and do your readings up there. And is that in the chart? Like,
yes, because what it forces each of us to do is say what we want, and
Yeah.
Kachina Woman is literally showing us how that works, because it's not only her creating a vortex through her throat chakra, it's all of us creating vortexes through our throat chakra. She's mirroring back to us our own power to manifest out of energy put into words, create a vortex of energy with sound, with words. And she's shown me over and over, it manifests whatever you ask for. You know what I mean? Make a wish, it's granted.
That's abracadabra, right? That's the meaning of abracadabra. Speak it and you manifest it into reality.
That is so funny you say that, because I've been saying the formula is abracadabra, please, and thank you. Because
yes. Yes.
That's what they always said, abracadabra, please, and thank you. Now we understand it. Abracadabra is you saying the words, what you're trying to manifest, or what you are manifesting. And like I said, I literally said on the day I got this house, I said, Archangel Michael and Archangel Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, Kachina Woman, please help us upgrade our living situation. And then the text came, oh, there's a 3-bedroom house for rent, like on the other side of the fence from you. Go over there. We went over there, and here I am. I'm in that house. It took less than 24 hours from being in Boynton Canyon with Kachina Woman there, and to get so grounded into it and it manifesting, and then making the request. So the abracadabra part is the specifics of what you'd like to manifest. The please is asking the angel or Kachina Woman or Earth Goddess or whatever. That's the please part. And the thank you is thank you for helping me manifest that. You know what I mean? And so that makes it kind of seals the deal.
Right.
And
So
it makes
gratitude,
it in present time.
Yeah, the thank you is in that vibration of gratitude, in that elevated frequency. It's interesting because, we've had a rough ride this year. We've had a difficult year where there's been a lot of fear energy that's been coming in. And fear energy can suppress us or give us amnesia and make us forget about our capacity to be magical manifestors. And so that's maybe what I'm experiencing as the light coming in is a reminder or a support system for us to reconnect to our magical capacity to manifest what we're wanting.
Yeah. Hey, and let me show you, if you want, the other parts of it that are helping.
Yeah.
Share the screen again. So, well, there is another difficult aspect, which is the moon right now is opposite Pluto and has been since yesterday, moving out. But Pluto is death, transformation, and rebirth. And the moon is, our stomach or our solar plexus, which gets hungry and gets fed or not. And if it doesn't get fed, it gets scared, it panics, it gets hypoglycemic, where, um, fear of death is what this aspect is. The moon, when it's opposite Pluto, is the anxiety and fear around death. And that's what the last 24 hours, if you watch news or media of any kind, you'll see that 10 people being murdered in a grocery store in Boulder, Colorado. It's the grocery store I used to go to when I lived there, by the way. And
Close to home. Yeah.
So it brings it close to home. So people are like, it's a little too close to home. Maybe they couldn't relate to a massage parlor in Atlanta,
right,
with Asian American masseuses,
Mm-hmm.
but a grocery store where,
Yeah.
suburbanites that live in Boulder, Colorado are going to, you know what I mean? Now everybody's afraid they're going to be murdered today. That's the current. So there is a little bit of scary energy right now, the moon opposite Pluto. And, but there is, what helps that is this trine to the sun and Venus, to the moon. And this is just, the moon moves really fast. So this is just today's energy, the part of it that's just short term, is the sun and Venus is consciousness and feelings, is being aware of your feelings and sending, maybe people are sending love or whatever they're doing, but using the heart chakra energy and expressing it. Also art, sun, conjunct Venus is often expressing feelings in some visual way, which can be art or dance or film or some visual way of expressing feelings. So probably what's going on right now is a lot of people are in shock or scared or whatever, but it's good for them to talk about it or express their feeling maybe in a more creative way even than talking, because it's not Mercury in that equation there. It's really Venus and the sun. So visual expression of feeling. So you see it on TV. You're watching all these people on TV that are going through their process around all these people dying. That's what's in the news right now anyway.
So in people's personal lives, it could also translate in like the completions of endings of big cycles or endings of things that you didn't want to end and grieving over that. Is that how it could translate into your personal reality?
Yeah, because you're combining that other part of the chart we talked with, which is the end of the cycle around this year's wounds, and we're getting ready for next year's wounds. You know what I mean? The whole
Great.
healing process. I mean, the Buddha knew what he was talking about when he said, life is painful. And so it's not like, even though Disneyland is open, we're not going to be able to make life like a constant trip to Disneyland. And my trips to Disneyland, actually, some of them were traumatic. I think I got lost on Tom Sawyer's Island.
I was going to say, did Mickey Mouse scare you, or what happened?
Mickey Mouse scared me. Yes.
I know a lot of kids don't like the big characters walking around. It's like
It totally freaked me out.
Well, I'm one of those characters at Magic Mountain. I was really big. Look at my costume. It's scary. I made kids cry, sometimes.
I didn't even know there was a king of the trolls, but now I do. It makes total
We were
sense.
banished a long time ago. we were so mischievous that we planned this whole wedding between, we had a mama troll with a baby troll, and then there was me and another male troll. And we were sitting around talking amongst ourselves, and we were going, which one of us is the dad?
That's so funny.
And like, shouldn't somebody be getting married here? You know?
Yeah.
So we planned a whole wedding, and we had the costume department make a ring, and the food and beverage department make a cake, and we had this whole wedding
Wow.
planned for the not me. I was not the one getting married. We had the other troll, male troll, getting married to mama troll, and
Oh my God.
then our supervisor heard all the rumors swirling around Magic Mountain because all these different departments were involved now, and like you can't do that. You can't just have a wedding in the middle of Magic Mountain with trolls. You know what I mean? We have to do all this publicity and make it a marketing event, and you know, get the newspapers and television crews out there. And like, we're going, screw that. And so, you know,
It must have been like the same like configuration then as it is right now. Like screw that. That's
the screw that aspect. And it's the Mars trine Saturn is now the screw that aspect. So instead of having the wedding, what happened was we went back to our, you know, posts as trolls, frolicking around, and the jilted husband to be, the groom, pushed the witch into the fountain at the main gate into the pond, and she was soaked, her whole costume, and
you can't get a witch
so-
wet.
what?
You can't get a witch wet. They melt.
No, we did though, and so she picked up her broom and she's swinging her broom like
Oh my God.
chasing him back to the employee lounge. And when she gets into the lounge, her broom hits the fluorescent lamps
Oh, no.
overhead, and they explode all over all the employees. The whole pandemonium broke out at Magic Mountain. And then the mama troll, not to be outdone, he was passing by the clown band, and she grabbed the trumpet player, a good friend of ours in real life, but she grabbed the trumpet player from the clown band and pushed him over and got on top of him and started humping on him.
Oh,
What?
Hard to believe, but this happened. The mama troll did this at Magic Mountain. That's why you've never heard of the mama troll or the king troll, because unbeknownst to us, because look at, how was I able to see through that in the crown of the costume? Is my eyes are really there above the eyes in the crown, but it's like wearing a burqa.
Mm.
It's not easy to see. And so mama couldn't see very well. I couldn't see very well. I mean, she could see well enough to grab the trumpet player, and he was a really fun guy. And we thought, oh, he was, you know, but the president of Magic Mountain and the director of entertainment were standing there watching the band. And so, oh my God, we picked the worst moment to do this. And we were the entire production company was instantly fired. And we were marched single file back to the employee dressing room, where, you know, we had to surrender our costumes, never to be heard from again. And now it's Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and all of those guys took over our gig. They're much more disciplined.
They're not humping each other.
They probably are. I mean, there's plenty of humping going on behind the scenes at the most part. It's mostly teenagers that are doing these jobs. So, yeah.
I can't believe I've known you all this time and I've never heard that story
Well,
before.
there you go.
I've got a lot of stories, don't I?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You have seen life, Dean.
Yeah. But anyway, this is a timely story because they're opening Disneyland and Magic Mountain in about a week from now. On
Wow.
April Fool's Day, probably, I think.
That
But,
would be the day to do it.
anyway, I
So
think
that
I will be.
transformation thing is that an indication that in our own personal lives we could be coming to the completions of cycles that we've been in the last year? Is that what it is?
Totally. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, the numbers of people that are dying is plummeting, you know, and I don't even know if these are real numbers or made up numbers,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, they've got the numbers going down because if you want to know the politics of it, Disneyland was not happy about being shut down for a year.
I would
And,
imagine.
and they, now that there's a recall of the governor going on and they have enough signatures, Disneyland, which Disney is one of the 6 corporations that controls the world, and they would gladly fund the recall to whatever amount of money was needed to get rid of Newsom. So I believe that there's a deal. It's just like, you know, we all accept these things at face value. Oh, Disneyland's opening now. Like, wait a minute. Me as an event producer, I'm wondering why Disneyland went first, not me. You know what I'm saying? Because my events are not as dangerous as Disneyland for whatever spreading diseases. So I'm thinking they are now going to fund Newsom's, oppose the recall effort, is my guess. But there's a whole lot of politics now that there's a recall that is rapidly accelerating the opening back up of California. That's the way I would read it, you know, as a reader, the way I would read the facts, the so-called facts, because they're like kind of off the wall, really. So that's what I think. It's a political thing, but that means that the rest of us, once you see Disneyland open, are going to have the Mars trine Saturn. What was that phrase that we had?
Screw it.
Screw it. Screw it.
Screw it.
I can go to
That's so
Disneyland.
interesting.
I can do whatever I want.
How long does that go on for, the screw it cycle? Because I've been feeling it. You know, I'm pretty connected.
It's peaking right now.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains a lot of what we've been going through this week, which is, you know, very little, you know, bandwidth or tolerance for, you know, projection of other people's ideas or beliefs. So that's kind of the screw it energy as I've been experiencing it.
Yeah.
So this screw it energy is here for a year
No, Mars moves pretty quick.
Okay. Oh, shame.
You sound
disappointed. It's like a hormone, like screw it. You know, like it's like I want to do what I want now. You know what I mean? That's it's no longer has any credibility. For example, a lot of the restrictions no longer have any credibility.
Now,
so,
is that based on scientific evidence, Dean, or is that is that your perception of things, or
Disneyland being open is the scientific evidence.
Right.
You
So that signifies that we're opening up.
It means there's obviously nothing serious to be afraid of. Doing it on April Fool's Day or whatever that season, you know, of Aries is like suspicious. You know? Like, okay, all you fools, guess what? Disneyland, you can go to ride roller coasters, and that's fine to do, but you can't go to the New Earth Expo. Or the fair at Avalon Visions. You know what I mean?
Right.
Come on, you know. it's like there's also a ton of businesses. Like, for example, this was in the news a couple days ago. This woman made a video, and it was a screw it video. It was like, look, I've got a restaurant and I'm opening it. And it was like in some Minnesota state or somewhere in the Midwest like that. And it's like, screw it, I'm open, you know, and you can't stop me. Well, she got arrested.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. So sometimes the screw it energy runs up against the Saturn square Uranus restriction of your freedom.
Have some more information about that, please. Like when exactly does that happen?
Then you make a video and put it on social media.
Yeah.
Like we're doing right now.
Right. So yeah, huh?
Funny.
So is there anything in there also about like speaking truth? I know that at some point, maybe the week before last, there was a Mercury thing going on, and you know, speaking truth was kind of like rising up as important to people.
Well, so here's Mercury now.
Okay.
So it's in Pisces. It's moving 1.5 degrees a day. So it was lined up with Jupiter 20 degrees ago. Here's Jupiter, which would have been about 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago, maybe. So Mercury lined up with Jupiter, and that's about communicating the truth or communicating your belief. So yeah, we did talk about that. Where it is now is it's lined up with Pallas Athena, which is creativity through sound. So that's like music or sound creation of, well, like I was talking about.
The abracadabra thing.
Yeah, conceiving. I think of Pallas Athena like art and culture. Well, art is like having a baby or conceiving a child with somebody else. It's often with music, there's more than one musician. And so this is more like group creation, like a band, like through sound and creativity of, you know, playing music together and manifesting, because it's square Mars, manifesting what you want. That's the screw it factor. It's time to manifest. And you join together with other people, Pallas Athena, like, well, we'll go to Disneyland and do it. Or, you know what I mean? You can do whatever you want at this point. But various people could complain. Like all those.
Arrested.
Or, for example, in Miami, the other big story the last few days is everybody's at spring break in Miami Beach and wall-to-wall people. And so they're like Saturn square Uranus kicks in and they put on a curfew. They're blocking the roads into town. They're not letting any more people come in from out of town. And so they're putting a big Saturn square Uranus on it. Even though all those people are doing the Mars trine Saturn screw it thing. It's like you could even put on a screw it festival right now and you'd get 1 million people.
I think that's already happening since it's spring break.
Well, isn't that typical of that age group though? Don't they live in screw it? Isn't that
Totally. That's what they're doing.
part of that? But I think what Dean's talking about is this like screw it for like everybody, like not just teenagers, but like everybody's kind of over the restrictions and the limitations and stuff.
Yeah, they're just a little more extreme.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm just trying to put on a little event at, you know, somebody's ranch or something. Right. Like I do Gail Thackeray's ranch just north of LA, and there's 40 acres there. You know, we can have plenty of social distancing.
Wow.
Not a problem.
So you told that you can't do it now, or is it in between, like no man's land?
Well, I Googled it this morning.
Yeah.
What are the rules for social gatherings? And it's still like you're pushing it right now because you can have 3 people, up to 3 people for of different households. in other words, you two
Mhm.
are from different households, right? You don't live together. So you could have one more person there for 2 hours. That's a California advantage.
It's a good job I don't know what the rules
I
are, because I
know.
don't even know.
You were breaking them without
I
knowing.
don't even-
You are. I am calling the thought police right now.
Does it count? Are you part of, as it's Christine and you, and we're all in the same? Well, I guess we're all right if we're
Well,
online.
that's okay. Zoom gatherings are okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's weird to me. That's why the screw it factor to me has kicked in, because if they can
Yeah.
open up Magic Mountain, Disneyland, and have all those people having fun. Oh, they made a rule though. You can't scream on the roller coaster.
I know. It's unbelievable.
Well, I don't know about music.
You don't want to
and-
spread all those.
Stop people from screaming on the roller. You have to wear a mask while you scream. How about that?
Isn't it like an automatic response? Can you really restrain a
I
scream
think
on a roller coaster?
That's just so ridiculous.
And I know there's some rules about dancing too, like music and dancing, and you can't.
No wind instruments.
Are you serious?
Stop it,
You
Dean.
can have a band.
I am not kidding. I read that today.
No wind instruments.
Interesting.
Because no spewing out of your spit.
Yeah. It's so fascinating.
Oh my gosh, that's
Well,
funny.
I don't watch the mainstream news, so I don't know what I'm allowed to do or not really allowed to do.
Well, see, they're opening up baseball games. All the
Oh, they're opening baseball games.
sports they're now going to have people can go to sporting events. So
Are you not allowed to cheer?
Right.
no yelling.
That's a good
I
question.
don't know. I
Based on the roller coaster
I-
thing. That,
Anyway, welcome to Saturn Square Uranus. That is what 2021 will be known as the year of having to control your excitement. You know what I mean?
wow.
That's Uranus can be excitement too. So you have to, it's not just your freedom, it's your excitement. You're not allowed to have.
It's
That's
such an
just
interesting
so
concept,
crazy.
like to control or repress your excitement, not be exuberant or joyous or happy, which is
It's
like
hilarious.
this is the happiness hour.
We might all be on a movie set and we're actually characters in some really ridiculous movie. It's almost a satire of itself.
It's really,
It
really
really
weird.
is.
It's very weird. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of problems with this. It's kind of, they haven't thought it out.
How weird that's going to be walking through an amusement park and you just hear the roller coasters and it's just quiet.
And what are
That's
they
not
going to
going
do?
to happen.
They can't
You
stop
get
you when
kicked
you're
out.
on the top.
What happens? You're going to get kicked out. Who was that? That screamed. If we all scream.
Anyway, is there anything about that, about the ridiculousness of the whole setup? Like it, because I know there's probably, some sort of sane, positive intention. If I'm being generous around the rules. I'm sure they don't intend for it to translate as something completely ridiculous.
Well, the thing about this trine to the sun conjunct Venus is like we end up with all this going on, we're having fun because it's the Venus thing where, you know what I mean? Venus is happy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the ridiculousness thing. I mean, what planet rules ridiculousness? I don't know.
I don't know, but it must be highlighted at the moment.
It could be. I'm thinking, maybe you know what I mean? It's Uranus here because it's it's like we're not allowed to, Saturn square Uranus means we're not allowed to get excited, but ridiculousness is actually hilarious, and it's a way of getting excited and laughing. And I think, if you ask me, laughing is just as dangerous as screaming or playing a trumpet. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
when you're laughing, sometimes even just talking, you end up spitting on people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Think of how dangerous laughing could be, especially in the same roller coaster or ride or watching a movie.
Yeah.
They're going to have to ban comedies, because all this laughing, people are going to be spewing out stuff from their throat. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
And screaming. Horror movies, they're going to have to ban those.
So, I'm asking the question because part of what Tisa and I are interested in doing is opening up conversations so we can talk about, what's happening in our world and with our wellness and with our choices and have some debate. Maybe, is that a naughty word? Or some truth come out about choices and things to do with our health and our wellness. Is that supported right now?
Well, because Chiron is really going to be the main event now, because the sun is lining up with Chiron in 5 days. So we're now in the end of the Chiron cycle, the beginning of the other. So that's all about, and sun is consciousness or being able to see what you're doing. So it means that the primary energy is conscious healing of
Nice.
Yeah, that is.
wounds.
Yeah.
So right now, seeing the wounds happening, and well, when you're talking about murder, that's consciously wounding people. You know what I mean? You're doing it as opposed to a car accident, which is unconscious.
Yeah.
Choosing, okay, I'm going to go kill a bunch of people, and that's the person might, their consciousness might be wounded already. In fact, they're saying the guy that did King Super's in Boulder, his brother is saying he's mentally ill. So that's a wounded consciousness right there, if that's true. And probably is true. I mean, a sane person isn't going to do something like that for no reason. And destroy, not only all those other people's lives, but their own life in the process. So that's a pretty crazy thing to do. So I think it's almost a given that anybody who does anything like this is either mentally ill or probably pre-programmed, like an MK Ultra assassin, something like that. And what that very well could be. That's another Chiron thing where you're intentionally mutating people through mind control, drugs, sexual abuse, etc. That's how it's usually done when they're children, and then they become easy to programmed, and then they have a somebody, the handler gives them a signal and says, okay, time to go murder a bunch of people in a grocery store or something like
Also,
that.
could that also be true in the reverse? Like it's a good time to help people understand how to deprogram from fear-based programming to be able to reprogram up into higher levels of consciousness. Is that also true or not so much?
That is absolutely true. And it is, so it means conscious wounding and healing.
Yeah.
The wounded healer is the whole evolutionary process, and even the symbol, the Sagittarian symbol of Chiron, the centaur, he's an animal and he's a human. He's also a god. His father was Saturn. So he represents evolution through wounding and healing, as you said, through mutation. And so, and even, all of this, we're doing a lot of genetic modification as well as reprogramming more holistically with someone's own intention, but also all the people whose DNA is being reprogrammed right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the nature.
What are your thoughts on that, Dean? I mean, do you believe that there is a way that consciousness or conscious choice could override or be more powerful than a break in your DNA or a mutation in your DNA? What do you think?
I think it's a battle, since you're
Yeah,
saying, can this be stronger than that?
yeah.
It's like, oh, that might be the battlefield that we're on right now. It's like, who gets to do the genetic modification, or who gets to do the reprogramming?
Mm,
And we've talked about this, and when we watched Greg Braden, he said 200,000 years ago, there was genetic modification of Cro-Magnon, and it created the human race, and the 3 chromosomes were turned into 2 chromosomes. And it couldn't have happened naturally by evolution. It
yeah,
had to have been an intervention, a conscious intervention of genetic modification, by whom we don't know, someone smarter than us. And so that,
but
and that,
so
just let
that,
me just let me just add one more thing. There was another show I watched. I forget if it was Ancient Aliens or Ancient Civilization or something. And they were saying the same thing, but they said that it was put into the DNA that we would become, and we talked about this already, that we would be genetically modified to become artificial intelligence human hybrids at this time. And so that sets up the battle over who's in charge of the programming.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And so that's what you're talking about.
yeah.
There are so many people competing for that job. And we're
Mm,
talking about countries. You know, there's a huge conflict between the United States and Russia right now. There's also a huge conflict between the United States and China right now. And those are probably the 3 primary people, or whoever powers that be, that are vying for, you know, who's doing the hacking, or, you know, everybody's hacking into each other's websites and, you know, networks and things like that. But also now hacking is becoming hacking human minds and evolution, and we're, you know, going to be fighting disease. This is the new form of medicine, how we fight diseases, or essentially it's controlled evolution of humanity into something or other. And there is a battleground over who gets to decide how that is done. And so
it's so interesting. You know, first of all, the Greg Braden thing, when they talked about that 200,000 years ago, that mutation led to speech and compassion, right? That was the consequence of that mutation. So that feels like it's a positive evolutionary step to enhance our human experience. This particular this particular change that's happening now, I mean, have you seen any information about what it's about? I've seen a little bit of information that's leaving me a little concerned about what it's about and the direction that it's going. And then I'll say another thing, and then I'll go back to that question. I also feel like, you know, this battle that we're having about who's going to be programming us, isn't the answer us, ourselves? Isn't that?
that's
Yeah,
what I was going to say, is
yeah,
it would probably be better not to talk about those, you know, other agendas that maybe we would not choose
yeah,
if we understood them. And it would be better to say, this is the realm that we're in now, and we're learning the technology. Like, I don't even know what Tisa does, but I can tell it's what we're talking about. He's talking about coding you. Like, you trust her? What planet are you from? You know what I mean? What's your agenda? Because, and I do it, I use this diagram that's right behind me right now. The planets are the chakras. And so based on your astrology chart, I'm going to be reprogramming your oppositions into harmony
Right.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so we've entered a realm of where we're all potentially programmers, just like we're all potentially computer programmers, and we're
Yeah.
using computer programs.
Our language
now.
is that.
And now humans are now fair game, and they're already cloning humans or choosing the gender of children through this kinds of technology, and they're already, genetically modifying it. They're trying to genetically modify every human on the planet right now to be immune to something that we're not even sure if it exists. And so this is the new world we live in. And it's how medicine is done. It's how wars are fought now. It's how evolution is, how we're supposedly, they said in this film I saw, the reason for it is that it's time to explore space, and our frail human bodies are not adequate to the task. So they need to create a hybrid so that your consciousness is merged with a robot that can explore space and maybe make you immortal. And if that is exciting to you and you don't mind being made out of metal and plastic, then
Or, you could have a choice. You could have an intentional choice. Yes, I volunteer for that pathway of possibility. Yes, I'm excited about that pathway. Or no, I'm not excited about that.
I think you can. I believe you can make that choice if you can withstand all of the mind control, propaganda, manipulation, social media, and restrictions. So, for example, it was announced today you can fly to Iceland if you're vaccinated. Period. You know what I mean? So, if you don't want to go to Iceland, you're still fine. But then what's next? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but I might want to go to England.
Yes.
Most likely.
And I think England might be the same pretty soon if it isn't already. And so the issue is, well, it might be the First Amendment freedom, or it might be there, but that'll have to go all the way to the Supreme Court. There are lawsuits proceeding on all of these things. Mandatory vaccination lawsuits have already been filed, and they're going to make their way up to the Supreme Court. And then, but the thing is, the tricky issue, and we talked about before, is that governments are restricted by the First Amendment, let's say. But what about an airline? What about a company that you work for? There are people, one of the first lawsuits filed had to do with a mandatory vaccination for employees of a certain company. Can they do that? And that's a tricky question because it's a private company. It's not a government. You know what I mean?
In California.
Yeah, they in California.
They just released that.
Yeah.
And then social media. So the big thing is you can't get the word out, your position on this, because of social media has already restricted anybody who says anything against any of this stuff is banished instantly, censored. And
well, I'm interested in having conversations about choices and different pathways as is Tisa, to invite the space for us to explore what the options are and what we're saying yes to, what we give consent to.
Because the propaganda is only giving one curated way of what you need to do to be healthy. Yeah. And we know there are many other ways to be healthy.
Yeah. So that's what this Saturn square Uranus, why it's going to take at least the whole year, is to see how to get to the Supreme Court on all this. And so, and it's making for very strange bedfellows, you might say, in terms of everybody's got a different agenda. So, for example, if you're a restaurant owner, 50% of restaurants are already completely out of business.
Yeah.
Already destroyed. And that woman yesterday came to a head. She said, I'm opening my restaurant.
Yeah.
And she said it very publicly. She went on television. She went on a news channel and she announced it. She was arrested within a few days.
It's kind of a little surreal because it also depends on where you are. If she was in Florida and she said that, there would be no repercussions
or
on
Arizona,
Or
where I
Texas.
live. I live in Sedona. All the restaurants are open. It's totally normal here.
that. Yeah,
Is it?
in Arizona.
Totally
Sedona.
normal.
Sedona, you're in
Well, at
Sedona?
least Sedona, each business gets to decide whether to enforce the rules. So if I walk into Whole Foods, I have to wear a mask and they're going to enforce it. Natural Grocers is not even going to allow me to put my groceries on the conveyor belt until the next person's gone. So each business, so I don't go there because that's too Nazi for me. So I go to Whole Foods and wear the mask. But then next door, or down the street, there's a crystal shop. You don't have to wear a mask in there. They don't wear masks. They don't care. Nobody's enforcing it except each business.
Are people wearing masks in public, just walking down the street?
Maybe 10% of them are just walking down the street. But everybody wears a mask if they go in Whole Foods or Natural Grocers.
On the places that ask for it.
You just ask the owner of each store, do I have to wear a mask in here or not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no. And there's some where the sign says you do, but they don't enforce it.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. So to me, that's probably a good compromise right now.
Yeah.
And I can put on an event with 50 people, indoors or outdoors. The law says I have to observe the guidelines, whatever they are. But I see they're not enforcing anything. So that's kind of...
Well, didn't we just see something about what's mandatory?
Yes.
Even though they're saying it's mandatory, even the woman who got arrested, I've seen forums where people are hiring attorneys because they're saying it wasn't a law. It was made.
Exactly.
Someone hired, they wanted to remove her from the premises and the police removed her from the premises. So that's one thing, because they're saying we have the right to refuse business to you because you're wearing a mask. So there's that fine line but it's not the law. But in my store, I'm making it mandatory.
But mandatory isn't law. So even if vaccines are mandatory, it isn't backed up and enforced by a law. That's what
you can't get on the plane
but
or go to Iceland or travel or come to
what
work.
I found now, when I was living at the Airbnb 2 months ago, I had a nightmare one night and I screamed. I didn't wake myself up, but I woke at least 2 other people up and told me I screamed. And then the owner of the house was one of them that I woke up, and she started writing me texts. I didn't even know what she was talking about because I didn't know about my nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Are you okay over there? What's going on?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then I had some friends visit from California that were like, had been cooped up all, for a year, and they came and they were wee and they're partying. Like they were like laughing so hard they were crying, and one of them was a chain smoker, and she had a chronic cough, so she was coughing and crying and laughing. And so then I'm getting these texts, Christina's really sick. It wasn't even Christina, she sounded asleep. It was like, she needs to go get a test right now. Do I need to call the police? This isn't a joke. Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
And I go, we feel fine. We just went hiking. We're having a party. I have some friends over. They're having a good time. No problems. We have no symptoms. And she says, well, if you don't get a test, I'm kicking you out on Tuesday, or I'll call the police. I'm like, what are you talking about? and then so Christina got scared. Like, she went over to get the test. She filled out the form, and they go, "You don't have any symptoms. What's this? Why are you getting
Yeah,
a
we
test?"
can't even test you. You have no symptoms.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So so I wrote back the owner and I said, "Okay, we're moving," and then I did that, gratitude. Thank you, archangels, for upgrading our living space right now. And it's like, okay, we're moving out. Can I have my month of rent back, please? And she gave it to me. And then we got the text because we were working with the China woman. And we asked the angels to help us manifest an upgrade to our living space. And instantly we got the text that this house was available, and we moved in within hours of all of this happening. But reason I'm bringing this up, one, it's like you can manifest anything you like. Two, people can make your life hell if they happen to be your employer, your landlord, your airline, your bus, your grocery store, whatever. There's like anything goes. It's kind of like the wild, wild west, where some people are making your life hell because and in my case, I didn't even know what she was talking about. I had a nightmare and I screamed. And my friends were laughing and carrying on and coughing because the chronic smoker one. So all of these people making assumptions and having beliefs about each other can make your life hell. So anyway.
So, but right now, this is our PowerPoint really, because we're talking about how we can create our own consciousness, we can create our own beliefs. And now, does that mean that they translate into law because you make your own, or does it mean that we get more polarized, there's more diversion, there's more separation?
It's interesting because what it forced us to do was use our manifestation abilities, use our gratitude technique, it sort of pushed us to become our own reprogrammers. Like
interesting. Because that happens quite a lot. It's really under the pressure of a contraction that you can push out your manifestation. Right? We can be casually manifesting. Like, I think maybe one day I might want to move to Florida, but then if you get squeezed on your living spot, then all of a sudden your power of manifestation gets amplified and accelerated because of your discomfort. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? I don't think it has to be that way, but I think very often it is that way.
It sure can be motivating.
It's motivating. Negativity, like compression and contraction, is a motivating.
That's Saturn
is the compression and the contraction.
Yeah, it's like the rings, it's like a container kind of holding you, limiting you.
So if we could spin this in the most positive possible way, we could say we're really getting squeezed to the point of finding our own consciousness power, our own power to manifest what it is.
It's kind of like getting born. It's kind of like getting squeezed to rebirth yourself. You know what I mean? It's like going out of the womb and being squeezed through the birth canal and to rebirth yourself. And like fortunately, I have like a China woman who's a Mother Earth goddess, and I can go right into an area to rebirth myself. And it literally happened. This whole thing that I was talking about, my landlord, happened on the same day as I was in the Boynton Canyon and experiencing the rebirth and the grounding energy. So it was all part of the same thing. It was actually a blessing that my landlady freaked out because we wouldn't have looked for the house.
Yeah.
It would have never even occurred to me that I could even get a house here. It's so hard. You know what I mean?
So it's all like all possibility lives outside there in the field of potentiality or possibility. But once you get squeezed in a tight spot, you open up that channel. we kind of are able to open up that channel. So it occurs to me that where we are astrologically and where we are in our evolution as humans is to really connect to our own conscious intention of what we want to create in this next chapter of time or this next chapter of life. And we're getting squeezed in that spot to speak it out, to just say, like you speak it out all the time. I want to do events. I want to guide people on tours in Sedona, and then it manifests because you're connected to it and you're speaking it out.
Well, and I'm also speaking it in a specific way.
Abracadabra, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying the thing that I'd like. I'm saying please and asking some angels and earth goddesses to assist. And then I'm saying thank you for making it happen. And then it manifests. It's really a specific formula.
Yeah. So elevated frequencies arriving in that bandwidth of gratitude and even a bandwidth of certainty of like, I'm clear and I'm certain. Like when you needed to move house, you were clear and you were certain. You needed to find a house. That's a lot of certainty behind that manifestation. And I think that certainty helps you expand into that bandwidth of gratitude. Like I am grateful for this manifestation because I'm certain it's happening. It's going to happen. It's happening now. It's happening.
So what you're calling certainty, I call faith.
Yeah.
And the faith is because it keeps happening, it's somewhat predictable that when you do the abracadabra, please and thank you formula, that it works. And so then you can have certainty because you now know how to do it. Because we're always manifesting. Every word we say is planting seeds. Right. And we're always doing it, but most people do it unconsciously. Mm-hmm. And so once you sort of really realize the formula, and it is the law of attraction, but we're getting a little more specific, come in with the abracadabra, please and thank you thing. And so the more certain you are of the formula and consistent you are at using words correctly, so that you say what feels good, makes you happy in present time.
Yeah, you also have to feel it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you have to feel.
That's part of the feeling it is the certainty part that you're talking about. It's like because it's consistent and because we have somewhat learned how to do this, we have the certainty or the faith, and then we're not scared. You know what I mean? So the feeling changes from desperate, I'll take anything, to, certainty I'm getting an upgrade of my living situation. And you know what I mean?
That reminds me of kind of what we were saying before about how, the position that we are is being able to, there's a battle going on around our consciousness. Who's going to program or control our consciousness in a certain direction? And it's not an accident, I don't think, or a surprise that after a year of fear on top of fear on top of fear coming in the field, then there's a push to program your consciousness in this direction. So I feel like where we are now is, I think it's really important. It's always important, but now more than ever, to be vigilant of our own fears that circulate internally, that we've embraced or believed in about what's going on externally, how we've interpreted that fear, so that then moving up the ladder of frequency and elevating the frequency out of the lower vibration of fear into the higher vibration of faith or certainty or gratitude is the practice of this time. It seems to me that knowing the steps and knowing how to participate in that is the skill. It's the important skill of our time. So, is there anything else that you want to say this particular
Well,
juncture?
as you're saying that, it just, I mean, we've all been there. You have certain levels of fear, right? When you're talking about like scarcity, that's a hard one. And there's a lot of people who, like Dean was saying, he had his events were taken down. There's a woman who got arrested because she declared that she was going to take it anymore. And I know a lot of people who have that scarcity because they lost their job or whatever that looks like. And sometimes telling them, oh, you have to have faith, and they, they're saying they have the faith, but you can tell that they don't because they're still fearing it.
Well, I get
so it's getting that a little, it just, as you're saying that, I totally get that, because I've had lots of times where I was able to manifest things, or out of the chaos came innovation, right? So I can appreciate that. It's just I'm feeling for the folks who feel that fear.
How do we solve that? Because I think that's an important point, that, and I don't, as I say, think it's an accident that it's born out of a year of being hammered with all of the things that we've been hammered with, that there's this edge now of wanting to program our consciousness in a certain direction. So what is the way to meet people here in this particular pain point, this particular low point, that allows them to elevate up and come along into expanding into that faith and that sense of certainty?
I think it depends. I think there's people who already have faith about that. And it's really interesting because I've had conversations with people who say, this is the first time I've been alone for so long that I've actually turned more into my faith. So as you're saying that, and depending what you're listening to, what, this is the time of evil and dark. And I think you're right. Like, feeling that the dark is inviting the light. Like, there's definitely that pull that we talked about earlier.
Yeah. So hey, Christy and Melanie and Raymond and Giovanni, I want to say hi because I didn't say hi earlier because we were wrapped up in conversation, and I want to invite you to join in this conversation that we're having right now. What sort of help would seem accessible to you to really support you when you feel like you've gone through a wobbly year or a rough year, to say the least? What can really empower you to know that your consciousness matters and you can have a big influence in relationship with your consciousness? Is there any kind of feedback that you want to sort of give us on that topic?
They should all see Michelle.
Hey, Giovanni. Oh, thank you so much. That's super sweet.
I actually don't, I don't feel like I felt as squeezed over the past year. I think coming out of it is now when I'm feeling the squeeze.
Interesting.
Like, people don't know. They don't know what to do now. Like, there's so much confusion and chaos. People are resistant to change or to even acknowledging that they've been through something. And so I feel like I'm impacted by that. I'm also impacted by the fact that I felt the world slowed down to kind of my pace. And now it's amping up again.
Eating up again.
And so now, I mean, I'm probably starting to go through that in the crisis, and to, just kind of pivot toward my toolbox. But I also feel like, in terms of faith, just believing in oneself and modeling who you are in your own faith sometimes inspires people, or at least let them know that you can't be messed with, right? Like, that you are standing in your power. So I've found that helpful, though it's a lot of work, but it's external work and it's also internal work, right? So I get to see, where exactly I am within the container of the situation. And I don't like being squeezed, because I feel like I've been squeezed ever since I was squeezed out into the world. So as you know, Michelle, I don't dig it. But when I see other people who I feel are having a more difficult time, then I say, well, I can actually see where I am on my journey as well. It's just like, wow, okay, I thought I had not mastered this, but I'm in a little bit better place. And it also helps to have, I think, compassion. And that's one of the practices that I try to cling to and cultivate.
Thank you, Giovanni. I've got a quick question. In that, you said standing in your power, are you able to bring an energy of play into that? Or is it feeling a little more serious to you?
Oh man, if I could not, if there was no play, I would be doomed. So, yeah, it may not, the jokes may not, be all that acceptable for the people who are the butt of them. But yeah, I certainly have my sense of humor right there with me. It's just like sometimes things get so ridiculous that that's the best outlet, really.
I can relate to that.
I love that. I love
Those
that.
are my best jokes, actually.
Yes, well, we talked
I'm pretty funny.
a little earlier about ridiculousness, and it feels like where we are in this transition period, things are there's some ridiculousnesses happening and going on. I'm hoping that they won't remain so obviously ridiculous, and they'll come into a greater place of balance and sanity. But thank you for sharing all of that, Giovanni. That's super helpful. Now,
yes, so Michelle, I had some feedback. The idea is with our primary nature, some people call it our soul or whatever we want to call that. We're made to cooperate, and everyone's included. That's kind of how we're made. But there was the women that wrote the Theosophical teachings, which came from the masters of wisdom. And one of them had stated our thinking system, or how we're educated, is how we define our own heart's feelings. And that's what predicts our behavior. And our behavior is either competitive or it's cooperative. And they go on in the teachings to talk about our lower mind and higher mind. And while we start with a lower mind, we have to start there. With the right education or thinking system, we find this idea of a higher sense of mind, this higher space, and our heart's connected, and we begin to cooperate. That's how we're made. But getting there, I guess, is all the fun. It's the drama of life, and we see all sorts of variations out there. Yeah. So Ben Krem wrote, education is the root cause solution for all societal ills.
Interesting.
For that reason, because he was a student of the Theosophical teachings, and he extended them more recently. He passed about 2016. And so thinking system becomes the big deal, and how we define reality and how we view things. And if we have it right, then we come into right relationship with our head and our heart. And then that's the foundation to then reflect that with others. But if we're in wrong relationship with our head and heart, then the outer reflection is competing or competition.
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if you know that Greg Braden and his work, he talks a lot about how Darwin's theory of, the survival of the fittest, and that we are competitive by nature, and only the fittest survive, is actually incorrect. And it was never the way that evolution happened. It was always in the foundation of cooperation.
Yeah. Well, Darwin talked about physical evolution, and Ben covered that. And for when we see animals compete, that is a form of cooperation for their level of expression through that apparatus.
Yeah, true.
But when you're given the gift of being a human, our natural proclivity is to cooperate. And an out picture is much different than how the animal kingdom looks to us. And so Ben went on to sit with some ideas, from competition to cooperation, or from harmony through conflict. He also mentions that in every drama that humanity's ever had, there's been disharmony or conflict that happens before the greater harmony is found. We come to this point of tension about the patterns of humanity. That's kind of that's what we see. So, so when we see disharmony, it's the amount of disharmony we see is also the potential for it to be transmuted into harmony, or the next step of cooperation. Ben also covered this idea of degrees of initiation: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and most of humanity is 0.3. That means they're still overcoming their physical body. And then at 1.0, you overcome your physical body. At 2.0, you overcome your emotional, and 3, your mental. And the masters of wisdom say you're a true adult when you're 3.0. We've only had a couple thousand people on the planet that have achieved a 3.0. And a 4.0 is even rare. I think we've had 200 and some. And 5.0, when you've completely entered the spiritual kingdom, meaning you're completely cooperating, there's been 63 that have become masters of wisdom or fully enlightened. And so it's not an overnight process. It's this evolution is introduced by the masters through the various works I've been reading. It's a gentle progress to come into that space.
That's hard to hear, Raymond, that there's only a few thousand of us who have not yet mastered our mind, because my book teaches you how to master your mind and how to master your emotions. So it makes me feel like people aren't getting the book, they're not getting the information, but it is my position. And I think it's becoming clearer and clearer through this cycle that we're in, is to really support everyone wherever they are in understanding that, first of all, that's possible, that we can be masterful over our thoughts, and we can be masterful over our emotions, and it's not as insurmountable or complicated as we are led to believe, and that we are indeed getting there. And maybe this squeeze that we're in is to elevate us up into those realms and those possibilities, because I was talking with Dean today, and I know that this is your position, that I'm feeling like there's a lot more light coming in. I just felt it today that, we're coming out of a cycle and we're going into a bandwidth that has more light available to it. And I do believe that we're in a battle between the dark and the light. And I do feel like the scale is now tipping in the direction of the light, because it was very hard for me to feel like maybe the darkness was, broader or having a stronger impact than the light was. But as I was talking with Tisa before, I feel like whatever you said, I can't remember how you said it, but the light is coming to the darkness to illuminate it so we can sort of be free of it. Do you remember how you said that? What you said?
It sort of, well, not sort of, it's where we are. We're seeing a lot of the dark come out, but because we're witnessing the dark, that's part of the light. It's being informed. It's seeing the truth. It's making choices, and then there's that squeeze and that darkness coming up.
Yeah,
I feel.
Yeah,
because I was feeling gritty.
Gritty?
In the dark, like gritty, feeling the way I was. Yeah.
Yeah, I was feeling gritty. I was feeling gritty too. I was feeling like, and I know that your point of view, Raymond, is that the masters are coming, right? And we're on a pathway towards that opportunity and that possibility.
Yeah, so part of what Ben shared is that every 2,150 years or so, we come into a new constellation that is the major influence for the energies that come into our system, or into the Earth, or into the solar system that we're in. And we're entering the age of Aquarius, and we're at the point now that we're 50-50, or we're like 51-49% Aquarian to Piscean. And so when you're at this place, so every day it's a little bit more Aquarian, a little bit less Piscean. And then at some point we'll be 50-50 with the next constellation 2,000 years from now. So when Jesus came as the last world teacher, it was, we're coming into Piscean and coming out of the prior, I think the prior age was Aries. And the point of that age was to develop individuality. But the vices of that age was
the Piscean age? Or
to develop our individuality was the goal of Piscean age, and we've done that. But the vices of Piscean is you can get too self-absorbed and be competitive and to and dominate the money system or dominate. So it can be the vice of that. And usually by the end of the age and beginning of the new, we start to see those tendencies, because while each age brings a new world teacher, when Jesus gave the teaching, it was very fresh and alive and interpreted correctly. But in about 2,000 years later, then we start to misinterpret the teaching and think that money is more important than it is, and these other idea of comforts. And we start to not live the teaching correctly. And this is when we see the competition and the vices of that time, usually at the end of the age more. And we're at that time now, and we're seeing that struggle. So the struggle we see here, Ben would say, yeah, it's going on at a cosmic level for those that are more psychically tuned in. But it shows up here too in our way, which is a lot smaller. But the good news is every day the energies are moving towards Aquarian, and the Piscean are dwindling, and we come out of that drama or out of that conflict. And through conflict, it's always been that we find this greater harmony. And the good news is that Aquarian age is, it could call the age of the feminine or the age of cooperation.
Yes. Yes, let's hold the space for that possibility. Hallelujah.
Well, it's happening.
Yes, it's happening. I do want to take a little bit of time to refresh back into this Gaia presentation that I did last week that was talking about our immune system and vaccinations and having, choices of, what those pathways are. And I don't know if that's taboo and I'm not allowed to talk about it, or if it's okay, but I'm going to show this episode. I'm going to show a little clip from this episode just to open up that sort of conversation for us to touch base with before I close today. So give me a